Welcome back, everyone, to another weekly installment of the ongoing wacky, crazy events around the Lori and Chad Daybell case. Thank you for joining me today.
For your safety, please read it as soon as possible.
当您需要帮助时，请联系乘务员。
Please contact flight. For your safety, please read it as soon as possible.
当您需要帮助时，请联系乘务员。
Please contact flight.
So, first off, I wanted to start with a little bit of good news in this case. When it comes to the Daybell case and the ongoing issues and things that we are learning about, they get more and more twisted as the days go on. Let's start with a little bit of good news. Yes, there is a little good news to report on this actual case. The nonprofit that has been set up in memorial to Tammy Daybell has now received a 401c3 certificate in business license, which means they are now officially a nonprofit. Back in the beginning of October, the East Idaho News and several other news agencies reported a little bit early that they had already received the nonprofit status, but it wasn't until November 10th that they actually officially received their nonprofit license in the state of Idaho, where they are. And let me now read you a little bit of that article from originally announcing that the nonprofit in memorial in Tammy Daybell's name had been set up. Tammy Daybell's family launched a special project on anniversary of her death. 1 year ago today, Tammy Daybell died in her Fremont County home, and her family wants to make sure her life is not forgotten. On Monday, Tammy's siblings and parents announced the creation of the Tammy Douglas Daybell Foundation to honor her legacy and service and love of literature. The mission of the Tammy Douglas Daybell Foundation is to give children the opportunity to love the written word, according to a statement from the family. The foundation has been established as a nonprofit organization and has been granted a 501c3 status, but it is not able to accept donations at this time. Details of the foundation will be announced at a later date, but a Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, along with the website, have been set up for the public to follow developments on the project. Again, they had announced a month early that they'd already received the 501c3 status. It hadn't become official until the state of Idaho had processed their actual paperwork there in their state. A little technicality, but it is now official. They do officially have the 501c3 status. Again, because Tammy, was a longtime caregiver and lover of literature. She worked as a librarian in middle schools there in and around the area where she lived, and wanted nothing else but for children to experience the love and that she had for the written word. And no, this is not a religious nonprofit that has been set up to push, either Mormon beliefs or any religion at all. It's all literature, and it's an all-inclusive foundation, and they will be doing as much work as they can to help small independent libraries and schools expand their actual amount of literature that they have and access to literature for children of all ages. So, good news in this case. Unfortunately, it had to come at the loss of Tammy Daybell. So, now let's get into the crazy news. The cray news of the week involving this case. Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow has now officially and legally been named a person of interest in the death of Joseph Ryan, her third husband. Lori Vallow, by being named a person of interest, means that the police department there in Phoenix, Arizona, are looking at her as the primary person who may be responsible for the death of Joseph Ryan. Does this mean that the case will be reopened or that they may exhume Joseph Ryan or go on for and do any other forensic investigation on his case and possibly charge her with murder? It is too early to tell. At this point, right now, by naming her the person of interest in the case, that she is the primary suspect in the death of Joseph Ryan. And that is based mostly on the fact of the release of audio recordings from Joseph Ryan's sister, where Lori can clearly be heard to say that she wanted Joseph Ryan dead and that she planned on killing Joseph Ryan. Let's do a little recap on Joseph Ryan, his death and how he was found when these tragic events happened to Joseph Ryan. Lori said it had been at that point, when finally contacted by the police, that she hadn't had any contact with Joseph Ryan in almost 5 years. This is completely a lie. She lied to the police when she said she had no contact with him in over 5 years. She had constantly had contact with Joseph Ryan whenever his check for child support was late. And according to Joseph Ryan's own family, he had constantly been fighting for custody and visitation of Ty Lee. He wanted Ty Lee and he was going broke to fight for Ty Lee. So, on the day in question, a neighbor was walking out of his home with his dog to take his dog for a walk when his dog started scratching at the door of Joseph Ryan's apartment. At that point, the neighbor got close enough to the door that he could smell an awful smell coming from the apartment. At that time, after he called the police and the paramedics made entry into the home, they found that Joseph Ryan was dead and had been dead for some time. And at that point, they believed that he had been dead approximately 4 days, that decomposition had already started to set in. Rigor mortis had already started to set in. So, what would they be able to find forensically? I don't know. But they did not rule it a homicide then. His death certificate was signed by the coroner, and it was listed as pulmonary, disease. That was the main reason, because everybody knew he had a heart issue. When it comes right down to it, though, he died of the loss of his daughter, not being able to see his daughter in all that time, and still having to pay child support for her every month, and knowing that he was not going to get her back. And Lori dragged it on and on and on to punish him, to slowly kill him. This is a fact. These are the facts of the case when it comes to Joseph Ryan. Did she have an actual physical hand in killing Joseph Ryan? Unless there's evidence out there that I'm not aware of or anybody else is aware of, she most likely didn't. She just did it slowly and more painfully by taking the one thing left in this world that he loved. So that is the updates on the Lori Vallow case for this week. Thank you very much for joining me today, and stay safe out there.